Okay, I'm going to start with the output files, and it is going to be these 8 files right here, and they're all IIFs, so they import into QuickBooks. And we have 4 checks and 4 deposits. The reason I'm starting here is the output files are probably the most important aspect of this. All of our daily deposits through authorized.net and through the City Hall daily cash account, all that money goes into the System Fund Bank. So System Fund Bank is our main collection bank. I guess it's our clearing bank. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Excuse me, man, dry throat. So the System Fund is going to issue these 3 checks here. And we have companion deposits. And those 3 checks go to these 3 deposits. There is only 1 check from General Fund issued, and that goes to the splits in System Fund. And so we have this check here, General Fund to System Fund 007, which is the splits account. And we have this deposit, and it is to System Fund from General Fund. So the goal was to create output file names which have some degree of meaning. The deposits obviously start deposit. It tells you to which fund and the 3 numbers on the end of that fund determine which asset or liability account we want to hit. And of course, we have the date at the very end of the file name. And since we do these transfers usually every Monday, it won't be that hard to track the checks and the deposits as far as the IIF files built. And we'll create folders in there for you to store things by the month. Anyway, let's get on with how to use this thing. All right, so I need to get QuickBooks up. Let's see. Not so much stuff running. So we want to import the data that we're going to use to build the check file and the deposit file, each IIF. Excuse me. We always want to build those from the liability account. And we're going to start out in General Fund. That's the easiest one. Let's see, where is that? 007. All right, so to do that, we're going to right-click, Quick Report, and I usually do by the quarter. And we find that, let's look how to read this, get all this stuff. We're going to take it to Excel, but let's look at it here. So we did an import, or not an import, a fund transfer from General Fund to System Fund for this $90.88. Excuse me, the account balance went to 0. That's what you want to look for. Each and every time we do a fund transfer is what we call it. So we build a check and we build a deposit, and the deposit ends up paying down the liability account, and we end up with a 0 balance. 0 here, 0 here. You see how this works. And you'll notice it is a liability account. the account balance. Let me move stuff around. $180.03. If we do some Jethro boating math real quick, we got $180.03 down here balance. Click Excel, send it to a spreadsheet. I usually make sure that this box is not checked. So uncheck this export guide thing. That's that extra tab you get on the left, and it tells you, I don't even know what it tells you, but don't use it. I don't like it. Export. And usually there's a 10, 12, 15 second delay. If you pull out the whole year, the whole fiscal, you're going to have a pretty good wait. So scroll down. So this is our asset account number in system fund, because these monies are due to the system fund. It's a liability account, as we saw over here in general fund. And here's the money we want to move. So I'm going to hit Control S to save. I'm going to put it on the desktop. And our naming convention is going to be General Fund 007, because we know that liability account is in the general fund and it ends with 007. James Bond number. And we can close this, close this, close this. And I am going to not put you through the misery of exporting all of these. So we're going to speed up and do things, and I'll be back in a minute. Remember, we have 3 Excel files to build out of System Fund. Okay, we have QuickBook shut down. We are going to open our import file folder. This is the file we use. It's an XLSM file, has code in it. And I'm going to put a timer up here somewhere. And we will take a look and see what kind of time it takes to get this stuff imported versus about an hour and a half on Mondays, sometimes a little longer, to build the JVs, do the checks, do the transfers, all that stuff that goes with it. So we open up the command file. We open up the first file we want to import, which is going to be the splits. Always start with column E. when you select your data. We'll have to move it out of the way a little bit so we can click the 007 button here. And yes, we want to import. This is a fixed range dialog box. So let me move this back over. Starting in column E, we know that these two pieces of activity need to be imported. Click OK. We don't want to select another range. And those imports are ready. We can close this one down. Remember, always open your source file before you click the button. So we are going to do 1112. We will click that button. We get the range dialog box. To scroll down. Starting column E, select everything. See how this works, right? And close that one. Open up 1113. Bring it over so you can see it. This is the one that has all of the solid waste. Typically there's 3, maybe 4 pieces of activity for every file you import per day. Click OK, no, OK. Let's close this one down. We will open up our capital improvements. Bring it to the forefront. We've got these 4 to import. No other range. We are done. I'm going to save this and quit. I'm going to stop the timer and take a look at the IIFs we created. Then we'll start QuickBooks, do the imports, and we will see how long it takes to whittle that time down from an hour to however many minutes. Okay, let's shut this folder down. We will fire up QuickBooks and let's do capital improvements first. Remember, we only have one deposit to bring over here. And it usually takes a while. We're going to File, Utilities, Import, IIF Files, click Import, and we have one deposit coming to capital improvements, and it is this one here, 1115. Double click that. As you can tell, I've already imported this a couple of times, and it is okay to overwrite it. While we're here, we do a Control A, get our chart of accounts. Let's go to banking, make deposits, and here is our deposit. No more hand typing this out or hand entering, and choosing all of receive from, what account. You have to hand enter this data here. Just done for you. It makes it better. Okay, we will close this down. Timer is still running. open up general fund. We have 2 deposits and 1 check. So let's see what we do here. Probably going to get the same notification, but that's okay. File, Utilities, Import, IIF files. And let's take a close look. We have 1 check to issue in general fund. We'll double click it. And we're good to go. We're going to go back and import 2 deposits. We have a general fund deposit to 1113. We have a municipal court deposit to 112. And these are both in general fund. Normally you don't get that message. We'll pick up municipal court, double click. We are done. Do a Control A. We'll go look at our chart of accounts. Municipal court, we had a deposit. And here is that municipal court deposit. We had 1 deposit in the general fund, and that was for solid waste, etc. And this was a permit, and that deposit is entered. Now we also had a check. We sent money over to system fund, and that was for the splits from the daily deposits. And here's our $180.03. We looked at that earlier. We are done with general fund, and we will close that. The timer's still running. And go to system fund. Let's go to File, Utilities, Import again. Takes us to our folder. So what do we have? We have 3 checks that we have to import. And what else do we have? We have a deposit, right? To system fund from general fund. So let's do that deposit first. And we will go pick up the checks. First one is to Cap. I wish there was a hotkey for this import files. We'll pick up the second one. And this is money that went into System Fund Bank, and it is owed to general fund. And this is a check we just imported to take care of it. And last but not least, we owed some money to municipal court. All right, Control A. We've only got 1 operating account here. This is a reserve account. Let's go to banking. We have more checks to look at than deposits. Here's our transfer check to municipal court. Here's our transfer check over to the part of the utilities, the solid waste. And then here's our check that we wrote to capital improvements. Let's go to banking. We had a deposit, and here's our $180.03. And we're done. Stop the timer. All right, so I've got to finish this thing up, man. I've been on it for a couple days on and off. A lot of things going on at work. So, question and answers. Brad. Okay, check out the big brains on Brad here. I couldn't help it. Pulp Fiction and Tombstone, I watched those just to relax. So you're right, I did change the GUI. It made more sense. Spatial navigation, right? And I guess Brad has spatial recognition. Yeah, we can invent that. But you're right. Started with smaller accounts and progressed to the larger number of accounts. It just seemed to make sense. So we will go to the next one. I'm unsure on how to do the Excel. All right. I probably went too fast. So let's look at this liability here. So you right click, you get your quick report up. And by the way, we're going to keep this up because I've got a question on why we want to do this in the first place. And let me prepare for the second question before I answer the first question. All right, so to get this into Excel, you click the Excel button and create new worksheet. And that's all there is to it. I will do that real quick. You get this window. Remember, I told you to click the advanced button, make sure that this export guide, and it includes some of the macros that Excel used to build the spreadsheet. You don't need that tab. And then you just click export, and it'll gyrate a little bit. Actually, it's going to take a long time because you see what I did? I went all. All right. And that's how that happens. And it'll open up Excel in a minute. Here it is. This was 1113, so we did a Control S. We saved it to the desktop as SF space 113 in a XLSX format. So that's how that worked. And of course, this is a exact spreadsheet from the report. So let me get out of here. And why do this in the first place? Let me see if I can open this up, which is a pretty good question. But let me show you the activity. So most of these are small transfers. It depends on the week. If we look, this was a pretty large transfer, and it was on the 15th. So this was 1 week's worth of data. Excuse me. Let's see if we can find one that's around the 10th. They're usually pretty large, because the 10th through the 12th, most people make their payments, or the 8th through the 12th. They're about the same. So keep your people off the keyboard, and that's what we were doing here. This was all data entry. I think this was prior to actually getting the import routine built. So in another journal entry, a daily journal entry, we have usually 2 to 4 data files come in per day. And this was, let's see, let's look at this one. 11/8 of 21, $45. When you go build your check and build your deposit, what I require staff to do is, so we can track this back in case there's a data input error, or we had an error as far as somebody paid too much and we have to credit, we need to know what file we're going to credit. So the name of this prior journal entry is actually in the memo field of the fund transfer check. So here we have 11/8/21. There's your $45 going out. The total amount of this fund transfer, we put this on there too so that we know in a spreadsheet, if we come in and highlight that data, it should equal to, or should total up to 3401.13. And we can verify that if we highlight all this data in the spreadsheet, sum it up, and get our 3401.13. And this requires quite a bit of time if you're doing data entry. The whole idea is to keep your client, the clerks, your admin people, keep them off the keyboard as much as you can. It gives them time to go do other things, and you don't have those data entry errors that you have to chase down. All right, I got to get to moving here. We're approaching 30 minutes. So for Denise and Sissy and a couple of others, this journal entry is built daily from the online portal, and it is different from the daily deposit DD. The online stuff starts with OL. We're looking at this date, and here are the names of this one journal entry. I should say the name of this journal entry is here, but we have three pieces of activity, right? We've got 410, 67, 33.93, and $15. You look over here, here is that activity. So to get this data into the liability accounts in System Fund, we have a different platform, and that's, like I say, that's run daily. We download a text file from the credit card processing company. So I hope that explains it. While we're here in System Fund, water is booked to revenue, sewer is booked to revenue, and then we have penalty and interest for the enterprise fund, and that's booked to revenue. So you won't see these in any due to, due froms. These are booked straight right to revenue. Your liabilities are here. Here's a liability, and 112 is the municipal court liability. So hopefully that takes care of that. And let me flip over to the finished import, the IIFs we built, and we'll look at those real quick. And here we go. Let's take a look at the finished IIF. Opens up in Excel. Let's open up these columns here. Okay, so we have a check, right down here. So normally, if you do this data entry by hand, you go to QuickBooks, open your bank account, do write checks, and you enter all of this information. Now, a lot of times you can get one of these done and then Control-C, Control-V all the way down. Do the same thing with your classes. And that makes it a little easier because we're only hitting one liability account here and one asset account in general. With your check, this needs to be a negative number. Even though in QuickBooks you do your check, you just enter positive numbers. Excuse me, and QuickBooks takes care of values. We need a document number. When you build a check IIF, you just need one. And of course, we build this and concatenate it to show the starting date and the ending date of these transactions. So if you look, 12/6 is probably a Monday. And this would be 7 days worth of activity, because you have to count the first day you start, right? That pretty much does it. Your transaction type, do a fill down for check, and to print, always do a fill down with an N for no. And the rest of this stuff, well, all of this is automated. Let's look at the companion deposit. What else do we need to look while we're here? I think that's it. So after you hand build your check, you would go to General Fund, and you would do the same thing, and you would do data entry to build a deposit. So I don't know if it takes 8-10 minutes to do each one, 5 minutes, who knows. We can do all 4 checks and all 4 deposits in about 10 minutes using code. The same thing, you don't have a transaction ID on your deposits, and you never have a document number for your deposits. So our general fund is 8. So we debit cash, and then we credit the asset account. So 113 is an asset account in general. And excuse me, over here you can see the daily activity. So authorized.net, we have 1, 2, 3 for December the 6th. We have 1 daily deposit that covers December the 6th. Then we have 3 more for the 7th, 3 more, no daily deposit for the 8th, 3 more authorized.net for the 9th. So you see how this goes. And we also concatenate the fund amount, whatever that amount is, to the end. And this is where I'm telling you, you can go back and look at this particular journal entry, right? If there was an error, something was wrong, and this balance was wrong, when you look at your transaction detail, you can go to this journal entry in either the system fund or the general fund and determine what error you got. And that, really and truly, that's what they look like. They come out as tab separated files. Let me show you how this works. So let's change this to TSV. We'll get the error. If we open it up, it looks the same, right? Because it's tab separated, not comma separated. Although it is comma separated while you're exploiting that data package in your Excel platform using VBA. And if we look at it as a CSV, you can see that all of the data is in one column. And notice there are no commas. So a comma is character 44 in VBA, and a tab is character 9. So during the build in code, I remove all the commas and replace them with tabs. Excuse me again. So let's put it back to IIF, which is the same as TSV. And you'll notice this is tab delimited. So for all you nerds out there who want to know this stuff, that's how it works. And we ran over 30 minutes. So if you're interested in the builds, let me know. Leave a comment. Shoot me an email. It goes to Bean Counter for those of you who are registered. And that's it. I'll catch you on the next one.